Let me start by welcoming Finland as the newest member of our alliance.
In 2023, the Anglo-American empire added Finland as a NATO puppet state. This was surprising because Finland had prospered with its neutral status for decades. It had good relations with Russia, who was a major trading partner. But the American CIA spent millions of dollars to demonize Russia in the Finnish media and spent millions more to manipulate Finnish social media and political leaders. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg was pleased as he bragged that Russia lost after it had been fooled by promises of no NATO expansion. When it took military action to block NATO forces from Ukraine, NATO annexed Finland.
President Putin wanted to slam NATO's door shut. Today, we show the world that he failed, that aggression and intimidation do not work. Instead of less NATO, he has achieved the opposite, more NATO.
Finland only has 5 million people, cold, desolate lands, and no significant natural resources. There is no reason Russia would invade Finland unless it posed a military threat. Covert CIA bases in Finland could launch terror attacks into Russia, or mysterious biolabs may appear in Finland. The United States may deploy nuclear-armed missiles to Finland, as was done in Ukraine. Our media refuses to mention these disturbing threats to Russia before its 2022 intervention in Ukraine, even though American President Joe Biden admitted that he had deployed nuclear missiles to Ukraine.
And when this war started, there was a tremendous tension about the possibility of nuclear confrontation, the possibility of Vladimir Putin using nuclear weapons. Did you have any direct communication with Vladimir Putin to deter him from using nuclear weapons?
Well, I did. When he started talking about tactical, I thought, this guy wants to use tactical nuclear weapons. No, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. Nuclear weapons, tactical nuclear weapons in Europe scares the hell out of everybody, including the Russians. Mm-hmm. Including the Russians. And so what I made it clear to him, look, he said to me that what he wanted to make sure that there were no nuclear weapons in Europe, in Ukraine, mm-hmm. that they weren't a member of NATO, and that they would not be, and he started off one of the conversations by saying, I know you can take me out tomorrow. I know you can take me out tomorrow from Ukraine. You can strike Moscow. You can strike. I said, well, that's not a problem. We've already taken the nuclear weapons out. So took them all out. There's none there. We're not going to put any back in.
The United States has been preparing a surprise nuclear attack on Russia for decades. Finland provides excellent launch sites for a quick nuclear strike on Russia. See the tale linked in the description, Preparing a Nuclear Attack. Finns assume that joining NATO ensures security. This is false because the NATO treaty does not require member states to defend others of attack, just to help if they can, and only after NATO leaders invoke Article 5. The United States can provoke a Russian attack on Finland with covert cross-border terror attacks or a senseless Cuban Missile Crisis event by building missile sites in Finland or deploying mobile missile launchers there. This would be part of the long-term American strategy to destroy Russia indirectly, as explained years ago by Russian political leader Vladimir Zhirinovsky.
Здесь, в центре Европы, у НАТО нет других планов, кроме ведения войны. И главная цель – война с Россией. Но напрямую они боятся, поэтому будут бомбить по периферии. Кавказ, Балканы, Ближний Восток. Дальний Восток. Напрямую с Россией они не пойдут, но будут прижимать через Украину, через Белоруссию, через Прибалтику, через Кавказ. Это общая тенденция. Так делал Наполеон, но он был честный, он шел напрямую на Россию, подошел, сжег Москву, вернулся. Так честно сделал Гитлер. Напрямую, на танках. Он шел до Москвы, но не удалось ему. НАТО хитрит. И у них цель та же самая. Захватить Россию. Уничтожить Россию. Запад — это загнивающий континент. Паразит-континент. Умирающий. Он мучает весь мир. Он живет хорошо, потому что вся планета мучается. 6 миллиардов мучаются, чтобы здесь 500 миллионов шиковали. Пили шампанское, в красивых залах сидели, рассуждали о мире и в это время посылали свои войска на восток.
Joining NATO is dangerous because Russia has legal justifications to attack Finland should it pose a threat. Finland openly violated the 1940 peace agreement that ended its war with Soviet Russia. This agreement is linked in the description where Article 3 states, quote, both contracting parties undertake each to refrain from any attack upon each other and to make no alliance and to participate in no coalition directed against either of the contracting parties. End quote. Joining NATO was a clear violation of this treaty and justifies renewed hostilities. Russia can also cite the UN Charter that allows allied nations from World War II to take enforcement actions against former Axis states. The United States has covertly done this many times, as explained in the tale linked below, American enforcement actions in NATO. Few Europeans are aware that the United Nations Charter allows this. The enemy state clauses is a term used to refer to Article 107 and parts of Article 53, which are exceptions to the general prohibition on the use of force in relation to countries that were part of the Axis during World War II. Under Article 107, the original United Nations members from World War II are allowed to take enforcement action against any state that had been an enemy during World War II, while Article 53 states that the renewal of aggressive action against a former enemy state does not require UN Security Council approval. These may be covert actions, too, which occur in Germany. See the tale linked in the description, the American colony called Germany. In summary, the U.S. military can legally conduct operations via NATO against Germany, Italy, Hungary, Bulgaria, Romania, Croatia, Slovakia, Albania, and Finland, and has covertly done so in recent years. If Russia attacks Finland, its legal justification will lead to debates in the United Nations and NATO nations. This allows NATO leaders to not invoke Article 5 of the NATO Treaty to avoid worldwide nuclear war. However, NATO can promise to send massive military and economic aid to fund a proxy war between Finland and Russia, just like Ukraine. Joining NATO was a trap for Finland, in the same way NATO trapped Ukraine in a losing proxy war. This was predicted years before that war began by famous American political commentator Noam Chomsky.
The idea that Ukraine might join a Western military alliance would be quite unacceptable to any Russian leader. This goes back to 1990, when the Soviet Union collapsed. There was a question as to what would happen with NATO. Gorbachev agreed to allow Germany to be unified and to join NATO. It's a pretty remarkable concession, with a quid pro quo that NATO would not expand 1 inch to the east. That was the phrase that was used.
So Russia has been provoked?
Well, what happened? NATO instantly moved to East Germany. Then Clinton came along, expanded NATO right to the borders of Russia. Now there are the new Ukrainian government, the government after the overthrow of the preceding one, the parliament voted, I think 300 to 8 or something like that, to move to join NATO.
Which you can understand why they would want to join NATO. You can see why Petro Poroshenko's government would probably see that it's protecting his country.
No, it's not protect. Crimea was taken away after the overthrow of the government, right? He's not protecting Ukraine, is threatening Ukraine with major war. That's not protection. The point is, this is a serious strategic threat to Russia, which any Russian leader would have to react to. That's well understood.
NATO generals have admitted they can't rapidly deploy significant military forces to defend Finland. Road and rail access is impossible, and ships and aircraft approaching Finland will be attacked by Russian forces. Moreover, NATO will focus on defending Central Europe and not waste forces on a pointless attempt to defend remote Finland. However, isolated Finland is a great location for a proxy war using Finns to fight Russians. Perhaps Finns will wake up to this danger by listening to Professor Tuomas Malinen of the University of Helsinki in the interview linked in the description. He describes conferences where NATO representatives openly discuss the need to destroy Russia, while preparations for war in Finland are everywhere. Malinen says Finnish leaders never held a promised national referendum about joining NATO, and Finns are now worried and suffering. As a member of the European Union, Finland imposed economic sanctions on Russia that harmed its economy far more than Russia's. It lost access to cheap energy and tourism crashed. Few Europeans want to visit desolate Finland, but thousands of Russians once crossed the border each weekend for fun and shopping. The prestigious Finnair airliner faces bankruptcy after losing routes into and across Russia. Finns need to withdraw from the NATO trap, but they may have no choice. Media reports show that even Russians feel sorry for their neighboring Finns.
Что Финляндия этим вступлением навредила сама себе, это вне всякого сомнения. Потому что мы раньше ее считали братской страной капиталистического мира, наиболее близкой нам по духу, по отношениям, по взаимовыгодным экономическим отношениям. А сейчас мы будем ее рассматривать как государство недружественное нам.
Для нас, я думаю, никак не изменится. Единственное, что финнам станет хуже, потому что мы к ним не ездим. И они несут от этого только убытки, по большому счету. А нам с ними делить нечего. У них своя жизнь, у нас своя.
Я считаю, что это событие не очень приятное, потому что все-таки с Финляндией нас связывали достаточно долго добрососедские отношения, и вот ее вступление в НАТО, в общем-то, ничем не обосновано. Но я надеюсь, что все-таки разум-то возобладает, и никаких вот печальных военных последствий там, наверное, не воспоследует. Хотя, еще раз говорю, событие это совершенно неприятное, на мой взгляд.